Yeah, I've made the decision to sign the contract to be the next president and CEO of Western Regional OTB. I'll be resigning my position as mayor of the city of Buffalo in the coming weeks.
Do you have a date for that yet, or for your last day?
Doing it as the coming weeks because there's still a number of things that I have to address here in City Hall.
Okay. And do you have a start date at OTB?
Not a firm one either.
Okay.
So a little flexibility,
All right, good.
but in the coming weeks.
Okay, very good. So this has to be a bittersweet time for you. I'm thinking you have been the longest serving mayor in the city's history. You were Buffalo's first black mayor. And so what are your thoughts as you're leaving City Hall now after all that time and with all of those landmarks behind you?
I'm thankful to the people of Buffalo for the opportunity that they have given me to serve and lead our city. I am very thankful for the things that we've been able to accomplish together. It is a little bittersweet because I have loved the opportunity to serve the people of Buffalo, to work to strengthen and build our city. But talking to my wife, Michelle, we decided that this was the right time to transition to a new opportunity.
Difficult decision?
Somewhat difficult. Over the years, I've had opportunities to take positions in the private sector, other levels of government. Didn't feel that the timing was right then. A lot of things were being accomplished. A lot of growth was happening in the city. But I think I have really given this position my all. And I think the timing was right now. So while not an easy decision, I think the right decision.
Think you could have won if you ran again?
I do think I could have won. One of the things that I did several months ago was took a poll. The poll numbers were still very good, and I think I could have won. But I think now is the right time to take on new challenges.
Well, I think it's appropriate to let you talk about some of what you think are your accomplishments in all of those years as mayor. How do you think the city has fared?
So one of the biggest accomplishments coming in were the fiscal challenges that the city faced. There was a state-imposed control board. I had to stabilize the finances of the city. Once we accomplished that, we were able to lift the wage freeze on city employees whose wages had been frozen for years, and that enabled us to work with businesses and others in the community to stimulate more than $10 billion of economic development that created thousands of new jobs for city and Western New York residents.
And on the other side, how about disappointments? Is there something that you still feel that you haven't accomplished?
Well, I would say as a disappointment, you mentioned leaving being bittersweet. It is a disappointment to leave because you always feel like there's so much more in the tank, so much more you can do, so much more you can accomplish. I'm leaving a number of things in place. One of the things that I am very proud to be leaving in place for the next administration is a $150 million plan for Jefferson Avenue in East Buffalo, where the money for that plan has already been secured. So I'm going to look forward to seeing those dollars flow through that portion of the community.
On that score, I mean, there's no question that there's been all kinds of development and new and exciting things happening in the city, but does it gnaw at you at all that this city is still ranked as one of the poorest in the country? I mean, when people are talking about that, is that something that ever gnaws at you, I guess?
Well, certainly that's always a concern. You want to raise the standing of your community. You want to help people improve their quality of life. Just recently, a report came out that listed Buffalo as one of the top Rust Belt cities in the nation for progress. You know, progress in terms of population growth, in terms of reducing the level of poverty, and a few other factors that that report looked at. And Buffalo, in many categories, was listed number one, in some categories number two. So I think we have made an impact, a significant impact, and have set a firm foundation for more growth as it relates to job creation, to improvements in public education, as it relates to people being able to improve their circumstances in this city. Another factor that was mentioned was the 6% population growth, and the first population growth in Buffalo in 70 years. So there are a lot of people that are looking at this city, particularly new Americans, that think this is a good place to live, that think this is a good place to invest, and think this is a good place to raise their families.
Okay. So, looking ahead here, I'm sure you knew that you'd be in for some criticism for leaving before your term ends, and especially after a lot of people worked very hard on a historic write-in effort for you a few years ago. So, what do you say to people who are critical of you for bailing out before your term is ended?
I don't see it as bailing out. In the campaign of 2021, the write-in campaign that so many people engaged in, I thought it was critically important to save the future of the city. I felt that the opponent at that time was someone that was totally unqualified for the office of mayor of the city of Buffalo, and I worked my heart out after losing that primary to make sure that even as a write-in candidate, we would win the general election. There were people from all across the city and all across the region that helped with that campaign, and we were able to win with over 38,000 votes as a write-in candidate. I feel that Council President Chris Scanlon is prepared to lead. I think he is well prepared. I think he has great passion for the city of Buffalo. I think he is the kind of individual that cares about every section of the city. And if there wasn't someone in the council presidency who I knew would ascend to the office of acting mayor, I would not be leaving now.
You've had a good relationship with him. I mean, as far even politically, right? He had a lot to do with your reelection.
He worked hard on the reelection, and certainly that is something that I appreciate. But beyond that, I think he has been a hardworking, knowledgeable member of the city council that my administration has been able to present facts and information to, who has been very supportive in moving our agenda forward for the growth and development of this city.
Do you think you could support him for mayor in an election next year?
One of the things that I hope to do as I transition into this next position is really focus on business and not politics. I absolutely think I could support him, and one of the reasons why I made the decision that I could leave early is because I do support him. I do believe that he is one of those individuals that is the future of our city, that has the right perspective for the future of our city, who's worked hard in getting us to a stronger position in Buffalo. So yes, he is definitely someone that I could support, and why I'm making this move right now is because I do support him and do think very highly of him.
Right, good. So about the finances then, and I know that you have some arguments about some of the figures that are being thrown around, but we certainly have heard figures like $40 million, and so there's going to be a problem no matter what, and you know, I think are you leaving a mess for someone else to clean up?
There will be a budget gap. You know, I think the number is more like 25 million at this point. And one of the things that I instituted was a fiscal sub-cabinet. So myself, with the finance commissioner, the budget director, other high-ranking members of the administration, we meet on a weekly basis to look at the fiscal issues of the city and what can be done to rein in costs, to generate additional revenue. And I think there certainly is a path for closing the budget gap. There is not a fiscal crisis in the city of Buffalo. When I came into office, there was no rainy day fund. We now have a $43 million rainy day fund in the city of Buffalo, and that is due to my financial planning and the city council's support. Now, I've proposed a number of things. I've proposed tax increases. I've proposed different programs that would raise revenue. And if members of the council had supported all of those things, we'd be looking at another more than $15 million in the city budget right now. So fiscal challenges, fiscal difficulty are not because of my management, it's because of the inaction and the lack of understanding of our fiscal circumstances of others.
You think there's going to have to be a tax increase inevitably?
I do think there will have to be another tax increase, and in fact, in the city's 4-year plan, I did put in a tax increase. In the last budget, I proposed a 9% tax increase. Members of the council wanted to reduce that to 7.5%. So on one hand, you can't say you're concerned about the fiscal circumstances, and on the other hand, not make the tough decisions that need to be made to address the fiscal concerns. Now, all of this, the backdrop for all of this, is the fact that our tax rate in the city of Buffalo is lower than it was in 2005 before I took office. So we dramatically reduced the tax burden in the city intentionally to stimulate residential investment and commercial investment. And part of my plan was we knew going forward at some point we'd have to raise taxes. And even raising taxes as I've proposed, we're still lower than the tax rate was in 2005.
Okay. All right, so looking forward, you're going to be leading an agency that doesn't exactly have a sterling reputation. It's been criticized for lavish spending, as you know, as a haven for politicians who need a job. And at least one of its top officials has been accused of sexual harassment in a lawsuit. So does the culture of OTB need to be changed?
Certainly, I'll look at the culture of OTB. I will make the changes that are necessary to be made. It's important to know, though, that OTB is a profitable enterprise. And this year and the last couple of years, record profits have been generated at OTB. The other thing that attracted me to the position is OTB provides revenue to 17 municipalities in Western New York, 15 counties, as well as the city of Buffalo and the city of Rochester. And since 1974, Western Regional OTB has provided close to $300 million to those 17 member municipalities. So I want to continue to grow that profitability so more resources are coming back to these 17 municipalities, and make sure that the culture is one of growth, respect, fairness, and creating a business-like environment. I believe there is a business-like environment, and I'm going to stay away from political involvement. Instead of being a politician, when I go to OTB, my focus will be on being a business executive.
What about this vice president who's been accused of sexual harassment? Is that somebody that you can retain in your new administration there, or is that somebody that you think you'd have to let go?
Again, I don't know enough about that circumstance at this point. And the way the agency works, it's got a 17-member board. As I understand it, a lot of decision-making goes through the board of that organization.
But isn't that your responsibility as the CEO?
Well, it's my responsibility as the CEO to bring decision-making back to the board and get the support.
Personnel, too?
It seems that the board has been very involved in personnel decisions.
You okay with that?
Well, certainly something that I will have to look at, but the structure of the organization is the structure of the organization. It is my hope that once I get in and I'm able to demonstrate what I can do and able to present a plan for growth in the future, that the board will be supportive of my leadership. And I think we'll get there because I've been offered this position through a unanimous vote of the members of the board of directors.
Was personnel, whether it was this official or any other, is that any kind of a stumbling block in your negotiations? Because they did take a long time.
Well, the negotiations weren't really between me and the board. The board advertised this position of president and CEO at a range of $280,000 to $320,000. And the board, in making an offer to me, made a proposal for what I would be paid. I didn't really negotiate that back and forth between the board. The board had to then subsequently vote on the compensation package that I was offered, and I think that's what took the period of time. But it wasn't that, folks were going to pay one thing, and I said, no, I want something else, or this benefit was going to be there, and I said, no, I want something else. I was presented an employment package. I was willing to accept that employment package, but couldn't do that until the board internally deliberated and made a decision to approve that employment package.
So do you see any kinds of differences in the way that this agency would be run now that Democrats essentially control the process as opposed to Republicans before? I mean, this all came about as a result of then Senator Kennedy's inclusion of this change in governance in the budget, not a bill, but the budget. And do you see any substantive changes coming, or is it just one party switching for another running this place?
Well, I don't want to come in as president and CEO wearing a party hat. If there are changes that need to be made, I will make them. If there is personnel that is not doing the right thing, I will make those changes. But I'm not coming in as Democrat president and CEO. I'm coming in as president and CEO. This is a business that generates significant revenue. That revenue is shared with 17 member municipalities, and my job is to run this organization as a finely tuned machine and business and maximize revenues to the 17 member municipalities.
Okay. Now, you mentioned your salary negotiations, which the OTB has put at $295,000. And there's some criticism even from fellow Democrats like Assemblywoman Monica Wallace saying that's excessive. What do you, I mean, even when you have fellow Democrats criticizing you, the mayor of Buffalo, in that compensation package as excessive, and what's your reaction to that?
Again, my reaction is that this back and forth between Democrats and Republicans is not healthy for the organization. Part of the dynamic, part of the atmosphere that people know about is because of the back and forth between Democrats and Republicans. The board set the compensation. I didn't set the compensation. The board has to compete with other businesses in the gaming industry and in the resort industry that are in the region and beyond. And the board set this level of compensation because they believe that that is the going rate in the industry to bring in an executive that can manage and run this type of organization. So I would say to elected officials of both parties, let the organization function, let the organization operate, and help the organization to maximize the profitability that goes to 17 municipalities in Western New York. I know that in the city of Buffalo in the last 3-4 years, we've received over $3 million from this organization. Right. That is nothing to sneeze at. Right. You just talked about the budget. Every dollar that we can bring in is important to the city of Buffalo, and I'm sure to the other 16 member municipalities.
So I never knew you to be a guy who was hanging around horse tracks or anything like that. You got a lot to learn about this business.
I absolutely have never hung around the horse tracks. I am not someone that gambles, but a lot of people do like horse racing. It's an important industry in the state of New York. A lot of people do like gaming. It is an important profit center for the state of New York. And so I will learn all elements of this business. But I think why the board was attracted to my candidacy is because I now am the CEO of the second largest municipal corporation in the state, managing an over $600 million budget with more than 3,000 employees. I manage an organization that is significantly larger than Western Regional OTB, and they thought that the management skills that I bring, being able to manage in all types of crisis that the city of Buffalo has faced, that I would be the right person with the right relationships all across the state of New York to help this organization grow.
And you had to go through a state police investigation and a background check and everything else to get this gaming license too, correct?
A very intense investigation, had to provide 5 years of taxes, Social Security, all credit information, savings information, same with wife and other family members. An application that's about 48 pages, so the background checks by the New York State Gaming Corporation, extremely extensive, and was very pleased to read in another media outlet a few days ago that the State Gaming Commission saw no impediments to my gaming license being issued.
So I'll finish up by just asking you, what advice will you give Chris Scanlon as he comes in to take over the second largest city in New York State?
My advice to Chris Scanlon would be to do your homework. And he is someone that I have seen to be a student of government, to read the things that come across his desk, not to be afraid to make the tough decisions, and to always stand up for and fight for the city of Buffalo.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you,
All right,
Bob.
you bet.